Good morning. I thought I was early. I am not. By the time I get all my stuff together, I am on time. Good morning. I'm Melissa with Sentimental Salvage, and this is day 6 of the 12 days of Christmas here on the Sentimental Salvage and Design Facebook page. Today we are going to be using IOD's Christmas 2021 transfer. This is figgy pudding. There are 8 by 12 sheets in here. So there's all kinds of fun. We're going to be using this one today. So if you are on, say hi. Let me know where you're from, where you're watching from. I'm gonna put stuff out of my way here. We are using one of these dollar store, Dollarama wooden artist panels. They're super handy to have. I don't know why that one's so grubby. Anyways, that's the back. They're super handy to have. Perfect little panel. I'm just going to give it, because they're kind of, I don't know. This is like 800 grit, 800 to 1,000. I'm just going to give it a quick, especially on these edges, just to take off any fuzzies. There we go. Wipe the dust off. Oh, and now the heater just kicked in, so sorry if it's noisy. Good morning, Shannon and Linda and Vita. Good morning. Okay, so we're going to paint this first using Fusion's Blue Pine. This is from the new color release. I think it was this summer. Was it in the fall? I don't know. Time kind of got away. Hi, Shannon. Saskatchewan. Awesome. Linda, you're in Devon. Have you always been in Devon? Yes, I think you have been. Why? I don't know. I'm losing it. Anyways, this is part of the 11 new colors that they released a few months back. But anyways, this is a really pretty kind of bluey green. I really like this color, so this is what we're using today. So the blue pine, and of course, one of my beloved Klingon brushes. This is the S30. I have 2 of these that are in constant rotation. I use them for everything. And always, when you're using, well, any kind of a paintbrush, just wet it first, and then, so it's not dripping wet, but it helps so your paint doesn't all stick up in there. Blue pine is really pretty. 2 years, see? I should know that. Good morning, Karen. Okay. I just realized that I did not put, I'm gonna paint the edges first, just to get that kind of out of the way. I didn't sand the edge. I can always go back and touch that up. I don't want to take too much of your time today. This is probably going to be a little bit, for sure, the hour. Hopefully without getting paint all over myself. Leave any ridges. I've used parts of this figgy pudding transfer already on a tray, the Santa and the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is really cool because it looks like needlepoint. It's got some interesting texture. Edge is done. 2 years. 2 years in Devon. I like Devon. We kind of drive past it on a roundabout way. My son lives out past Thorsby, so that's the only time I go out in that part of your world, Linda. Good morning, Myrna. I just saw your... Hi, Shannon. You're back in St. Albert. If I miss any of your comments, don't take it personally. I'm just trying to keep one eye on comments and one eye on my project here. It's looking like I'm going to get away with one coat here, though, which is perfect in this situation. You guys can still hear me okay with the heater going? You can probably hear it buzzing in the background. I've got one of those big radiant heaters here in the store. And on the workshop side of the store is the business end, the noisy end. Have any of you done transfers before? Used the Iron Orchid Designs transfers before? Perfect. Glad you can hear me. That's looking pretty darn covered. I'm gonna give this... Yes, you were, Shannon. I remember that. Back in the day when I could do workshops. Okay, so heat tool time again. Give this a quick dry. See if I'm gonna need a second coat. I might. I think I'm gonna give it a light little sand. And then a second coat, just to smooth it out a little bit more. Sometimes painting over raw wood can give you a little bit of a rougher finish. This is such a pretty color. I'm getting a little bit of a shadow. At all, not really. Okay. I'm just going to lightly sand this. So that edge kind of that feels better. Wipe off any dust bitties. Okay, one more quick coat on here. I'm not going to do another coat on the edges right now. I'm just going to do it on this part. Tammy, you PM'd me. Okay, I will check that out after. Looking for interesting. Yeah, Vita, you could probably, well, it depends how crafty your mom is, how intricate, I guess. Some of the stamps on the tags would have been a cute little project. It's not difficult, it's super simple. The heater on this paint is drying pretty much as I'm putting it on. So I'm trying to get it to go on fairly smooth in spite of the blasting heater. Okay, so that is on there. I'm just gonna give it a little spritz of water and a little bit more. I can feel the drag with my brush, and I want it to be smooth, so the water kind of helps smooth it out. Water and a nice soft synthetic bristle brush are your best friends for a nice smooth finish. All right. We'll dry this again, and then we're ready to go for the transfer, the fun part. Oh, that's cute. You're past that stage. Okay, that's fair. I thought you were looking for projects for her to do. As this is drying, it's like totally smoothing out. Like you cannot see the brush strokes at all. Not that you need a perfectly flat surface for the transfer. It depends what kind of look you're going for. but you do need it to be very, very, very dry. So I want to make sure this is very dry. If you were using a chalk style paint, like DIY, you would want to seal your paint with a clear coat before you put your transfer on. So what I do is paint it, and then I take the big top and I put a coat of big top, then apply my transfer, and then seal it again with big top on top. Just because of the finish of the chalk paints. You can get away with it. I used to do it that way before, but then I struggled once with a piece of furniture, putting a transfer on the bottom of a big piece of furniture, and I had to kind of give up and seal it and then apply the transfer. What paint did you use? This is Fusion Pearl. I used Fusion's Blue Pine. And it's such a pretty color. Sorry about the shadow. You're getting a shadow from my phone, so that dark square in the corner isn't really there. But it's a really, really pretty color. I just want to make sure that's super dry. Yes, you can, Vita. You can do it on canvases. The trick with putting transfers on a canvas is you want to support the underside so that when you're rubbing your transfer on, it doesn't, I'm just waving this around to cool it, sorry. When you're rubbing your transfer on, I'm just going to change my... When you're rubbing the transfer on, that you're not pushing and stretching that canvas. Transfers don't stretch. So depending on what you're applying it to, that's why they don't work great on furniture, like on cushions or anything. You can use them on like canvas wall hangings or even bags. You got to be careful, but it's doable. I wouldn't bank on the longevity of it on a bag, or I've seen them on shoes. But it's a fun project on something that will last you for a little bit, right? Okay. Back at her. Here we go. Okay, so where did I put the transfer? Here we go. This one. So we are going to be making this Merry Christmas sign. So I want to... I don't need it specifically in the center, but just gonna kind of eyeball it here. I'm more worried about it being straight than centered. Okay, so once you take your backing paper off, don't be handling the back of your transfer. You want to pretty much have it lined up where you want to put it and commit to that. That looks fairly straight. Because if you touch it, if you touch the back, you're getting like the oils or anything from your fingers on it. And you're not going to have the best adhesion then. You could have issues with it. So these dollar store boards are pretty, they're cheap, they're kind of sketchy. So be careful when you're putting your transfer on so you don't snap your board. I've had it happen in window classes, transfer classes, where you're just pushing too hard and you actually crack your pane of glass. And then that kind of ruins your project. Okay, So this is the little rub stick that you get with your transfer. There's one of these in every single one. So you end up getting a giant collection of them like I do. I'm just gonna kind of go over the whole piece here. You can kind of see, if you look at it from an angle, where you've rubbed it really well. I just always start out with going over the whole image. All right, and then I'm just going to start pulling this backing paper up as I go. And you can see as you're lifting, if any little bits haven't transferred down, just lay your paper back down and rub over it again. These transfers, you can apply them to, like I said, glass, antique windows. It's probably one of my most popular workshops. Mirrors. They're not UV safe though, so I wouldn't put it on a window that's gonna be in the sun because they will fade. They're really pretty, Vita. There's a little piece of that didn't adhere, so I'm just gonna go back and rub those down. Voila. Yeah, there's some cute little robins in this transfer. At least I think they're robins. I don't know. I'm not a bird expert by any means. I think they're robins. They look like robins. Okay, so this is clear now. Now I just take this sheet and I go over and I burnish the whole piece, just rubbing with my fingertips. Fairly hard. You want to put quite a bit of pressure. Make sure that's down. There we go. So furniture. Will the top coat prevent them from fading? No, Pearl. It's not gonna fade unless it's getting direct sunlight. Like there's that yellow piece that I have in the store that's been in here. I did the wallflowers transfer on that piece a couple years ago and it's not fading at all. I think it would have to be like on a window that faces the sun or that gets a lot of sunlight. You could probably seal it with a UV protectant, but I haven't tried it. I haven't heard anything about that working, but it might work. You'd have to experiment, Pearl. That is so crisp and detailed. Look at all the details in this transfer. It just looks awesome on this color. Really pretty on this color. I like it. I like it a lot. Now I have to figure out how I want to finish this. I would kind of like to put some molds on there, actually. There's these little acorns. Let me just grab that mold set and I will find it in my stash here. Okay, so this is the Laurel. No, Fleur-de-lis. Good grief. This should have been a big tip, hey? This is the Fleur-de-lis mold set. This one is still available. It's one of the classics, one of the regulars. But this one has these cute little acorns and these oak leaves that will tie in perfectly with this. And then this is one of last year's Christmas sets, but it's got these trees. This is the boughs of holly, and it's got like a couple of these hollies and then these like pine branches. So some of these little holly leaves and maybe a poinsettia. What do you think, guys? We might do part 2 of this one tomorrow and we'll put some molds on it. I do have some molds made up with resin of the trees. I thought they were right here handy. So these are the trees from this mold from last year. These aren't available anymore, sorry. This was the last year. So these would look kind of cute on there too. And you can kind of put the oak it's too symmetrical for my liking. Yes, I think we're gonna do some molds. There's even some snowflakes from the snowflake molds from last year. Those would look kind of cute up there too. What do you think, guys? Molds? Do molds tomorrow? Finish this puppy up with some molds? I think so. I kind of like the little trees in the bottom, and we'll do some of these acorns and oak leaves kind of up in these corners. That will be tomorrow's plan. All right, so today ended up being shorter than I thought. I thought it was going to take longer for this to all dry and apply. So you can see how easy these transfers are to apply. They're super simple. No big issues, nothing super complicated. You can apply them to pretty much anything. So if you have any questions about these transfers, this is just one sheet out of the 8-sheet set. There's 8 in here. All kinds of stuff. This big tree, they are 8 by 12. Each sheet is 8 by 12 inches. So that gives you kind of a size idea on this one. So this tree is a fair size. So is this vintage Santa. And then there's these caribou and a couple moose. And these little, yeah, these are robins. This one's really cute. That would be cute on a tag or something. Well, that would be a pretty decent sized tag. That's probably about 4 inches across. So yeah, there's a lot in there to play with. The resin cures white, Linda. This is, I don't have the box. I think I have a few left online. It's the Amazing Casting Resin. It sets in 10 minutes. You just mix these equal. We can make some of these tomorrow. We'll do some of these tomorrow so that you guys can see how it works. And I think I have some online. I'm pretty sure I have some. It's like back ordered right from the main company. So what I have is what I have, kind of a thing. And I'm not sure when we can get it back. You can get it at Michael's. I'm not sure if Michael's ships, or if you're close to a Michael's, you can get it there. But anyways. All right, guys. So we'll see you tomorrow for part 2. We'll be doing molds. And we'll do some with the resin and some with the clay. You've seen the clay already, but we'll do these ones with the clay. And I'll show you how the resin works. But it's super simple, and you'll like it. The resin works really good for ornaments and stuff. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today. Tomorrow will be day 7. Yeah, today's the 6th, so tomorrow's day 7. We'll do part 2 of this beauty, and we'll see you then, 10 o'clock tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.